Good morning, everyone out there, all Move Well doctors and other chiropractors. And yes, I'm wearing a beanie and a hat because it's cold out here. I'm outside. I'm actually organizing my shed this morning before I get to work. So this is my shed right here. And I got a lot of tools that I have to put away. But anyway, one of our Move Well doctors asked a question. I figured I'd make a Facebook Live, be the quickest way to answer it. And I just put his question in the subject line of this Facebook Live. His question was just getting more clarification about the belt system of functional movement, how to progress a patient. And let's see, and then also some questions about what is a postural corrective exercise. So let's tackle the first thing first. And I'll stand with an awesome background, which is why we moved into this house over here, my backyard. So here's our backyard. How cool is that? All right, so here's the first answer as far as what the belt system of functional movement is. The belt system is a way to organize exercises for a patient to gamify the process of them progressing and getting better and more functional. So for example, we have a white belt. Do I have my belt on? No, I don't. A white belt starts off, you learn the bare bone basics of movement. You learn breathing, hip hinge, core. There's some other things on the list. Once they've learned that and they can demonstrate proficiency, so they can hit key points of each one of them when tested. Okay, we don't have like an official test on that. Then our exercise team or doctor says, hey, I think it's time for you to progress to yellow belt. Good job. Yellow belt, there's more things to learn. And each one inside of Move Well University has set requirements that they have to hit before they can go to the next belt level. So this doctor asked, hey, I'm a little bit confused on how to progress someone or when to test them or whatnot. And something that is in the works is for the higher belt levels. We have a page that Trainer Tony's building out. It says, for example, so you want to be an orange belt, because in our belt system, orange belt's right before black. I know that's different than most martial arts schemes, but orange belt is right before black. And so this page says, so you want to be orange belt. And then it maps out all the criteria that they have to do in detail. That's something that we're starting at the higher level belts and working our way backwards. In the lower level belts, I don't think it's going to be necessary, like white belt, yellow belt, blue belt, because those have the list of all the exercises they need to know. And it really comes down to one thing that is going to be scrutinized a bunch. So for example, to get to yellow belt, I believe, or to pass yellow belt, I believe, so sorry if I'm misspeaking here, I don't have it in front of me, is they have to master a deadlift, so a kettlebell deadlift. So there's set criteria they have to be able to do. They have to be able to hip hinge properly to get into the deadlift. They have to pick up a kettlebell properly. What weight, that's going to be subjective based on the patient, based on their strength, their ability. And then they're going to squeeze the handle, break the handle, so bend the handle, engage their lats, stand tall with their spine, be able to stay at a good extension in their spine. And then neck, everything stays neutral, and they have a proper hinge. They have adequate ankle dorsiflexion to get into at least a minor hinge. Spine stays neutral and straight. And then as they come up, they're going to control the weight. They're going to have their shoulders depressed and retracted. Shoulders are going to be packed, and they're going to get to the top, and we're going to actively be able to see that there's glute activation at the top. So it's those types of things, because there's multiple things that go into a deadlift, for example, that a person's going to have to master. And if they understand all those cues, they're going to be a more functional human being. They're going to be moving better. And those are set criteria. As far as to answer the question, Move Well doctor who said, like, I'm just not really sure like how to progress them, we don't have it completely spelled out. This is how you have to do it, because it's somewhat choose your own adventure based on how you want to do it. Trainer Tony and I will make a video very soon once he gets a couple of these other forms put together, and we can go through some different samples of belt progression. But there is a master belt sheet inside Move Well University. And it shows white belt all the way to black belt, and it lists out what they need to have mastered before they can go and test to then get to the next belt. So I would print that out, I would look at that. We can talk inside of the Inner Circle page or the Move Well Doctors page in more detail. This is somewhat of a general video overview, I know. Side note, good morning, Brandy Hunter. How's it going? All right, so then the next question. So I mean, just to wrap that up, how we progress someone in the belt system, it's not based on how many reps. It's not based on a certain number of a certain weight. It's based on hitting set criteria for the movement that they can move competently to get to that next thing that they've learned. They've learned all of the white belt protocols in all of their different tagged dysfunctions. So for example, it goes D1 to D8. There's 8 different dysfunctions that we could possibly identify for the patient. Let's say they have D1, D2, D3, D4. So cervical, thoracic, shoulder, and scapular. That means that there's white belt protocols in all 4 of those categories. They have to learn all the white belt protocols in all 4 of the categories. They have to learn them first, and then they have to be able to demonstrate like one main movement to go to the next level, which I believe from white to yellow is a deadlift. Hopefully I'm not misspeaking. Again, I don't have it right in front of me. So they learn all the white belt protocols and their tag dysfunctions. They learn a kettlebell deadlift within set criteria, and they learn the basics: breathing, hip hinge, core. Once they have that, great. Now they've passed their white belt. All right. So that's pretty much how it's going to work for that. Refer to the master belt system list again. Now, next question: what is a postural corrective exercise? This is something where, for example, if someone has a sagittal spine problem, so their head is forward, they have a increased thoracic kyphosis in a lot of cases with this, not always. The pelvis might be forward compared to the feet. That is one postural corrective exercise, is putting them in the opposite position. We use blocks, or like yoga block type things, spacers against a wall. They can stand there statically. They then go to do it against banded resistance. They then hold a good posture against banded resistance, adding functional movements. This is inside of Movable University. It shows it's a 3-step progression. So there's a static one first, just to learn the movement, learn how to shift their posture into a opposite postural position from their dysfunction. So I'm talking about sagittal plane. So let's say there's a forward head. We're going to teach them how to pull their head back. Then we're going to do this against resistance for repetitions. How many repetitions? Typically 10 to 20 repetitions. They build their way up. And we like to do this as 2 seconds in to the movement, 3 to 4 second hold, 2 seconds out. Okay? And they're going to do this not for really reps, but we do it for time. We do it for time more than repetition. So we'll have them do this for 2 to 3 minutes at first. And then we gauge their progress. We gauge their soreness and whatnot before we have them do this for more volume, more time. And then once they've mastered that, once their posture's starting to correct and everything else is working well clinically, they don't have pain, then we do this with a functional movement. So now what we do is we have a band. We pull them to neutral, not into an opposite position, but just neutral. So let's say forward head posture, pull them to neutral. So C2 is over C7, hold them neutral. Then they can do some functional movements with this. They could do maybe like a backward lunge, or they could do like a squat. Something where they're moving their body and they are reprogramming motor control to have a good neutral posture against banded resistance. But they're not going into an opposite position, they're just going to neutral. Another example of that, if someone is listed in their rib cage to the right compared to their pelvis. Okay, I know you can't really see this because I'm holding my own phone, but if they have a right shift of their rib cage. So initially we identify that, we shift them to their left, we shift them opposite, right? Then we eventually do that against resistance, banded resistance. Again, we go not necessarily for reps, but we go for time. So we're gonna go 2 seconds into the shift, 3 second hold, 2 seconds out. It's usually how we do this. Start with a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, maybe get up to 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, they're gonna do this every day, a couple times a day, ideally. Once they start to master that, ensuring that they don't have pain in this process. Now, challenge is different than pain. It can be challenging, it can be tight, but not painful. No sharp shooting, electric type of actual like chemical pain. So once they've cleared that, then what we do with that rib cage shifting scenario is we then band them to hold neutral in front of a mirror. So remember, they're shifted right. We band them, they hold neutral. They've already progressed through this repetition type of exercise against resistance. This is the third tier or the third progression in a postural corrective exercise. And now we hold them neutral. Now we do again, backward forward lunge, side step, squat, whatever, while they're holding themselves neutral to reprogram motor control and to get the rest of the body moving while they're, again, holding this main posture in a neutral position. That's what a postural corrective exercise is, okay? Now, granted, there are more variables to understand with postural corrective exercise, like looking at the coupling patterns on x-ray, making sure that it's appropriate for them to shift from right to left. It might look like something visually, might be different on x-ray, and the best way to really analyze and understand this is something that I've said many, many times before, is pick up either some textbooks, some seminar DVDs, or go to a seminar for chiropractic biophysics. That's how you're going to learn this work the best. That's where I was introduced to it, and in no way, shape, or form am I going to attempt to teach what they have worked so hard to master and publish and do an excellent job at bringing to the chiropractic profession. So I fully promote, endorse, and always tell people, go to a chiropractic biophysics seminar, get their DVDs or get their textbooks. And if you really want to learn posture and postural corrective stuff, that is your ticket. So anyway, just to reiterate to everyone else who's part of the audience and you're watching this, the thing that Movable University does, the void that we've filled in the chiropractic profession, is we've taken functional movement, which is a very convoluted and sometimes complex and confusing topic, and I think we've simplified it and we've broken it down, and we have refined a lot of other information out there into an easy to follow, not just clinical guide, but also how do you put this in a chiropractic practice. We've put that on top of other work that we already do. We already have a specific segmental approach in our clinic with Gonstead analysis and adjusting. So that's my background. That's how I started with this. There's all the types of movable doctors who do this work who don't do Gonstead. We have upper cervical doctors. We have doctors that their background was in soft tissue stuff. You know, they were like ART practitioners. They were doing a lot of sports stuff. I mean, so there's all types of different chiropractors who resonate to this. So it's not a prerequisite to have to do any specific type of technique. The thing that binds us together is our universal desire to get people moving properly, to do an evidence-based analysis that is both effective and efficient in time. It doesn't take an hour to do a movement assessment. Be able to reevaluate them, be able to take that information and apply it clinically into protocols that we as the chiropractor can have our clinical team help execute, so that we as chiropractors are not seeing one patient an hour ourselves and doing everything ourselves, but we have systems that we can turn over to our exercise therapists, our rehab team, so they can carry out these very crucial, important movement pattern exercises to restore mobility and health to our patients. And then something that we do as well is we also practice chiropractic biophysics in our practice as far as the traction and some of the very basic postural corrective exercise components. It doesn't really go in that much depth in their system. So we've taken that and kind of brought it over to the functional movement world. We look at postures and we figure out, okay, how do you combine that with dynamic movements to help improve the posture? For example, if someone has a shift in their rib cage, oftentimes what happens, there's a sling from the right shoulder to the left hip, and there's a sling from the right shoulder to the left hip or left pelvis in the back of the body, front of the body, back of the body. You have these slings, and those diagonal slings are going to be lengthened or elongated. And it's not one muscle, it's groups of muscles that work in coordination through movement patterns. Like there's a movement, for example, called a chop or a lift. There's a body rolling pattern, like a basic pattern that babies learned how to do, where they roll over. You can do like a Turkish get-up with a kettlebell, one-sided, first 3 steps of a get-up. Those are all things that are going to engage that diagonal sling. And also, the really cool thing is that's the thing that pulls them over into a more neutral, corrected posture. And it's a movement pattern. It's not just a static shifting exercise or a exercise against banded resistance. We start someone with that. That's the very simplistic start. But then we advance into a movement pattern. And there's definitely different clinical expertise to understand to make sure this is appropriate for your patient. There's certain cases where you're not going to want to do that because of what we see on x-ray and because what we understand with, if someone has a scoliosis, for example, like understanding what that's going to do with them. This is the more advanced part of it. And again, this is why anytime we start talking about posture or spine coupling patterns, I defer to saying, go to a chiropractic biophysics seminar, learn it there. Our systems help put everything together, okay, and figure out how to run this successfully in a chiropractic clinic, okay? And Teresa Williams or the spiral line, absolutely. So it's looking at some of Meyer's work as far as in different fascial planes, okay? So absolutely, it's looking at various lines of the body. That is what I am referring to for sure. Okay, so anyway, if you have any questions or other comments, please leave them below. But as always, go to moveouniversity.com to check out more about this. And there's really 3 different things you can do with this. I mean, because just to be totally transparent and straight up, our goal with Movable University is to grow this. We have over 120 doctors now worldwide. Most of them are in the United States. We've got a bunch in Canada. We have some throughout Europe, Australia, China. So it's really global. However, our goal is to continue to grow this. We've met a lot of like-minded doctors that have been searching for something like this. So you may watch our stuff and you may say, there's no way I could ever do this in my practice. Or, yeah, it's interesting, but, you know, like, I don't think this is going to work for me, or whatever. And so something that we've designed is if you go to our website, moveouniversity.com, there's 3 things you can do. One is you can get our book for free. We printed the book, so you don't have to pay for it. You just cover shipping. You get the book. You read the book. It's a quick read. It's 18 chapters. It gives you the like 10,000 foot view overview of how this came to be and how this works, and either gets you really excited about this, or it makes you say, yeah, this is not for me, but thanks for the information. So totally fine. So I would say get the book. Second thing is you want to learn more information about the details of the system. We made a masterclass. It's a 90-minute masterclass. If you go to moveouniversity.com/masterclass, and you can find that link on our site as well, you can watch this masterclass, and it's set up in such a way where you don't have to watch it from start to finish. You basically put your email in, it sends you a link, and you can jump back into it, which is really convenient. So I would say watch the masterclass, learn some of the details of the system. And then the third thing is you've been following it. You say, yes, I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I still have some more questions. Or, hey, I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I'm still not sure if this is right for me. You can schedule a discovery call. And you basically get on a phone consultation with our MoveWell support staff. They'll jump on, they'll talk with you, and honestly, within 5 minutes, they usually have a pretty good idea, and you'll have a pretty good idea if the conversation should continue. And if you are wanting to get started with it, they will let you know the best program, the best path, the best way to do that to get rolling. And our program is online, and we also have in-person events. We actually just had a impact event here at our clinic last weekend. So we had doctors fly out for it. The one previous to that was in February. And that's where this stuff even comes together even more solid, is when doctors come together, we train together, and they leave with just great action steps ready to roll. A lot of other details I'm not going to cover on this Facebook Live. It's already a long one, but check out moveouniversity.com. Comment below if you have any questions. Have an awesome day. I'm going to get to work before I actually get to work, if you know what I'm saying. We'll talk soon.